We do have a tendency to punish our characters because it makes for, I don't know, it's dramatic. It makes for stories. Whether or not you like your characters is almost not a question that applies. It's you don't, they're fiction. So you stand in a somewhat different relation to them, obviously, than you would to real people. And so all those things about liking or not liking are slightly outside. The characters are part of something larger that you're sort of constructing.
Right, the characters are part of a story. They're not, a story that we invent. They're not people we've met on the street. And, just in terms of our thinking, I can't imagine, there must be examples, but I can't imagine, and it's not how we work, I can't imagine a story where nothing bad happens to the characters. What would such a story be? And if something bad happens to a character, if that's interesting, then something even worse happening would be more interesting. Things, in spite of your efforts at control, always go wrong in small ways and big ways that you can't foresee. And, in a way that's a good thing because it makes it all more organic. You have to adjust, and the whole thing is it's a more organic process than our reputations as control freaks might suggest. So it's always fresh to us, and as much as everyday shooting is, it's never what you expect. Weird constraints that you could never have foreseen come up. It's just the nature of making movies.
Generally, we storyboard the whole film. We don't, interestingly, actually look at the storyboards much once we start shooting the movie. And large parts of the movie don't necessarily even conform to the storyboards. But in a strange way, it's another draft of the movie before we actually go into production for us, and it helps us to sort of crystallize our thinking or have a place of sort of a point of departure from the point of view of the sort of visual plan of the movie before we actually do go into production. So certain sequences conform pretty closely to what we storyboard, and others not so much.
A difficulty in talking about the process is it all gets very mushed together and happens in arbitrary ways in terms of schedule and everything. When we're storyboarding, we may or may not also be scouting for locations, which is a huge determining thing in how the movie looks. And that may or may not influence how we think scenes can be staged or should be staged, and that influences how you kind of plan the movie in terms of storyboards. So you kind of storyboard in reaction to a location you found, or you revise if you find the location later, or you might even actually there have been instances where we've added little scenes just in response to finding locations. So in a sense, the script writing interacts with the location scouting process, and you're also casting sometimes smaller parts of this at the same time, and things react to other things that are going on, and it's kind of a mush of activity that doesn't make a lot of ordered sense, and that explains the movie.